this session, it's kind of exciting. It's not only going over something that's very, very tough, the framing of a house, a new construction. And also not only just for new construction, we've rebuilt major gut rebuilds and they need framing as well. For the most part, we're going to go over new construction. But what we're also unveiling today is something that really is right now, from what I see, is the only answer, particularly in cities like Tampa. By the way, Tampa is like the #1 city in the country for increase of rents and increase of home values, which basically has made affordable housing almost non-existent. But we've come up with a new model that we're actually in today. I call it a 2-for-1. You know, you'll see the presentation where how we made it a 2-for-1 and how we're positioning it for not only increasing value on our balance sheet, but also being able to sell these homes in exceptional locations for significantly below the medium income or medium home price that we're seeing. And this could be replicated throughout the country. I'd like to introduce my cohort, my sergeant of arms, the person who makes sure things are going right, Sergio Maranto.
Hi, I'm Sergio Maranto. I am the building contractor in a Tampa market, building all these affordable and beautiful homes.
And also Sergio is also a partner now. He's done such a fabulous job. We're making him a partner. So profit sharing, everything, equity sharing. So he's got more skin in the game. So he's going to protect our assets, you know, even more so. Before I get into actually the main session, I have some great news. Remember this house? This was the last session. Remember the monster gut rebuild? Well, we're shifting. It's no longer going to be a gut rebuild because of some things that have come out on the inspection of particularly the trees. We're going to, remember, this is a Robin Hood. Remember the Robin Hood model is where you try to make as much money as possible, but you bring that profit back into your affordable housing program to reduce rents, reduce price of the sale price, or just help low-income people like we do. This house we're going to turn into this here, and guess it's beautiful. And guess what? It's going to be a $1.2 million house that we will see at least $300,000 in profit. And that's going to help us tremendously in being able to buy homes, reduce the price, whether it's rents or whether it's for sale prices. And remember, this Robinhood model, as we've explained in the previous sessions, this must be implemented within your whole program. This is something that's I see that's growing as we're starting to teach. Others are actually starting to replicate it, and that's great news. And remember, if anything you get out of this, remember, as I'm going to go into, time is time is the most valuable asset you own, and it's never too late to shift your game plan for a house. All right, as we get into that real quick, remember us, and for those new people, and those are rather who have been with our session before, you know what we always start out at. We give you the overview of business and this and terms and definitions that must drive your business. Remember, definition of economics: maximization, utilization of scarce resources, and time being the scarcest resource. Folks, time is the most valuable resource. So don't mess around with, pie in the sky. People will come bring you, let's say, out of the earth, things that really are not, fathomable economically. Remember, Bill Gates, or now the richest man in the world, I forgot his name, bought Tesla. What's his name?
Elon Musk.
Yeah, Musk. He wakes up with the same amount of time in a day that you do. So remember, time. Remember, opportunity cost. If you have only enough money to buy 3 houses, but you got 10 opportunities, you must, it's really, how can you maximize that dollar? And it's really looking at what's going to bring you the most return. Remember, it's not only money sometimes. Sometimes for us, the opportunity cost is the ability to put a poor family in a very, very rich, higher income neighborhood. And which we're doing a couple of those right now as we speak. One of them in an extremely high income neighborhood. Go over this real quick. Remember our affordable housing model? The market, the gist of this is, remember, the market drives your decision, not your feelings, not your board, not your wife, not your husband, not your brother, not your daughter, not your son. The market must drive your decisions. And that's the biggest fault I see with almost every single nonprofit I've worked with across the country. They think that they're smarter and stronger than market forces. And every single one who's thought that has failed. Remember the Robin Hood model, and by the way, once we are going to go into one at the summit, we're going to go into big time the Robin Hood model with some actual world projects going on. Remember when again with the summit, we're going to help you get construction lines of credit at the summit. But remember, when you get those construction lines of credit, it's not your money. Remember, that's not your money. Only the profit is your money. And don't forget that, only the profit. So you protect other people's money, and that's how you're going to get more money to build more housing and to widen your net of construction. All right, we're at 4201 West Woodlawn. This is a demo. It's in a great location, not far from the football stadium, which even makes it that much more lucrative. But what we decided to do, and actually we changed. I was going to build just a for sale or rental, and when we saw the last from COVID, when we saw affordable becoming non-affordable, we looked at a way, how can we turn one house into two, and make it work for now. And by the way, this works not only for rental. We're going to use this is going to be affordable rental. We can get $2,800 to $3,000 a month for these, and we're going to rent them to military for anywhere from $18,000 to $2,000 a month, almost a 50% reduction in rents. But it also applies for sale. And by the way, we'll go into a little bit on how we did that. But here's Woodlawn, what it looked like before. Here's the demolition. And by the way, when we set up the plans, remember how we went and we talked to the city about building something different? Can you talk to the audience a little bit about the process you went through in convincing them that to allow us to build two homes instead of one?
Yeah, I mean, going through the process is exactly what it is, a process. There were some issues they were giving us with, having to fix the adjacent street to this. And we argued basically doing a drainage and all the drainage and fixing the drainage also, which we had to argue with them. And finally they caved and they gave in. But it's a matter of
by the way,
arguing.
they caved in, but
Yeah.
because they wanted to charge us like 40,000 or 50,000.
Right.
And we got away with how much it's going to cost us?
I think less than 10.
Less than 10. So we
Yeah.
saved 40,000.
So, yeah, so it's a big savings. And just going through the process in the building department, I mean, everybody's different. Every building department's going to be different. So just be as friendly as you can. I can tell you.
Yeah, you know what? So and remember, this isn't a duplex. This is a multifamily. These are two considered single family housing, right? They consider this single family. So and by the way, we have a lot. We just purchased a house literally blocks away from International Mall, which is one of the most lucrative malls in the nation, Gucci and all these high end. And literally they're building $800,000, $900,000 houses on the same block. But we're going to use this same model to be able to keep those homes below 350 and bring in hopefully Black and Latino home buyers that can live in this incredible area and be able, yes, the houses are smaller, but it's still not only going to provide them a home that, is very affordable, but more importantly, they're going to be able to walk in with equity, which is important. Now, I have the plans. You think I should go through the plans? Yeah, let me show you the plans on the house. On this one, just real quick, you're going to see that this is the site plan before. Obviously, the elevations, around what it looks like, what it's going to look like. These are the actual interior, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We love bathrooms. Remember, bathrooms and kitchens is important. And again, remember, we're doing this as a rental, but we're building it as if we're selling it so they can live in a very nice house. This is some of the stuff that I don't even understand, like, the mechanical, the HVAC. All right, so we don't need to know that, but that is actually, all right, so that's the house. Now we're going to go into the process, the overview. First off, before we get into framing, remember we presented it about 3 weeks ago. What's actually the most important part of the house is not the framing, it's the foundation and stem wall, which which is actually not only the most important part, but that's actually where most of the mistakes are made, right?
That's everything. That's everything. If the foundation is wrong, the whole house is going to be off. You're going to be all square. Everything's going to be out.
And to the audience, I know this very well. We a GC that we fired and actually sued built a house below, it's 18 inches below plan, and the city approved it. And I had to build a drainage system around the entire house. It's got like a moat around it. That was the only way. And I turned it from a for sale to a rental because I couldn't sell it. But I know firsthand on how you must watch this before you even think of framing. Make sure that your stem wall and foundation company, know their stuff, and they're proven, not just some friends of friends. All right. One of the things we're going to go over, what we're doing is we're using rafters, and you can see one of the pictures. Housing Pros, one of the people attendees, I actually have a camera upstairs. We're putting in rafters instead of trusses. Explain to the audience, what's the difference with the two and why?
Right. So the difference is trusses are all pre-engineered. They come from a factory. They make them right there. You can it's a lot quicker to put them up, easier. The framers don't have to figure out anything. They don't have to cut anything. It's basically all pre-done. Rafters are a little different. There's a lot more labor involved. It's basically they're building it right on site. They're basically running the rafters right on site. So there's difference there, and the difference too. And right now is time. Time is like Al said, time is money, and we can't wait 28 weeks for trusses because that's what it's taking right now, just because of this boom that's going on.
Got it. You're going to have to go to the builders or wannabe builders for new houses. You're going to have to go to rafters. What's happened is, like Horton, a big builder, they're getting their trusses in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And we're getting them in 4 or 5 months. Of course, the biggies are what, the smaller builders, which is almost all, and we do a lot of construction, but we're still small compared to those guys. We have no leverage against the suppliers. So we had no choice but go to rafters. And by the way, rafters, which is to the audience, and we have a Q&A at the end. That's the roof basically. And that's how they used to build roofs all the time.
Yeah, that's
all they did. And that's when your carpenters really ruled the day, because you needed an incredible carpenter. And we've got some carpenters that are being able to do the rafters. So remember, as you're doing new construction, you got to go to rafters. It's going to cut time by actually 80%. And remember, time is money. And show you, and by the way, we ran into a problem where we've been off the job. We've stopped work on this house for almost 3 weeks because they didn't deliver all the material. They just delivered the final pieces today, and again, but this is new even to our wood suppliers, because they're so used to just ordering the rafters, and then the third party company comes and delivers it. So this rafter piece is actually picking up steam for a lot of people. And we've noticed our supplier 84 Lumber, they said that they're increasing rafters, people with rafters.
Everybody's starting to go to that. So, and you have to also make sure your draftsman or your architect can also do that, because that's a big thing. They need to know how to design.
You got it. The rafters are harder to design within the roof.
Yeah.
And we're actually having to hire a separate engineer just for the rafters to work with our draftsman, who's a good, who's excellent, but he doesn't know. Remember, very few people know how to do the rafters. The order of the framing, can you talk about once we figured everything out, the process you went through in ordering the framing kit?
Yeah, I mean, the framing kit's pretty standard stuff. I mean, it's basically your walls, your whole house. I mean, your walls, your floor trusses if you have a second story. But ordering is basically, I typically send all my stuff, my plans over to 84. We go through it, get everything ordered, and we have a plan of what we're ordering, and then we schedule our delivery date depending on the slab. When the slab is done.
And don't get sticker shock, folks, because wood has went back up again. It's doubled almost in the last 2 years. And this is actually, and one of the things, by the way, one of the things we're going to do at the summit, we're going to be inviting all the major suppliers for housing, the executives to the summit. We're going to try to create a coalition of buyers so we can reduce our cost and your cost of building a house. So stay tuned for that. Framer bidding, talk about how you went through the bidding and hired another framer. Remember, this framer is second in the row, I guess the food chain of importance, the stem wall being the most important in the foundation. The framer is a close second.
The framers are, they're building your exterior walls, all your load bearing walls, they're building everything. So if they don't know what they're doing, that's going to be a big problem. You're going to have a lot of issues. But, finding framers is not easy. It's basically, once you find them, obviously get 2 or 3 bids from 3 different framers. And, hopefully you can weed the good ones to the not good ones out. I mean, it's basically trying them. You're going to have them on the job working, and whoever your GC is going to have to be able to determine whether they're good or not.
And by the way, this model, remember, this 2 for 1 can be not only wood frame, but it could also be block. But the reason I'm not doing block, believe it or not, is that's even more tougher. So it's easier to, it's more expensive, and which will increase our cost. Remember, we want to, for the townhomes, you want to keep it below a certain, you want to make it affordable. And right now, isn't it crazy? 2-3 years ago, affordable was $250. Now it's $350 and below. So, and by the way, when we have a house that we're selling for $350 below, I have at least a couple hundred buyers. And the bidding, remember, don't forget the bid. Every trade you have, take it out to bid so you can not only get, and remember, it's not the cheapest always. It's people who have proven experience, and also how soon can they build it out. Remember, the most important part isn't so much the price, it's when can they get to the job and how long will they take to finish? Because remember, time is money. We lost a month on this job. So let me put it in a money terms. So if that happened and we were building 3 of these, we lost 3 months. We can actually build 1 house in 3 months. And, we're making $70,000 a house. You just lost almost $300,000 in profit that remember, it's profit for those like myself, nonprofits. That's money that you just literally burning and taken away from people that we help. Low, moderate income families and people, like I love children with cancer. I help children with cancer a lot. We give away once in a while homes, we give away TVs. I reduce all the rents by 40%. And when we lose money because of time, that's taken away from all the people we help or you can help. The process. So go through the process once the kit is delivered and the framer's all on board. Yeah. Explain a little bit to the audience kind of the process you go through and some of the things like you went through to make sure it was being done correctly.
Yeah, so the main thing is obviously reading understanding your plans, because that's going to tell you everything. I mean, that's the plan that framers that we all have to go by per city also. But you want to make sure that the framing process is obviously exterior walls first. They typically do the exterior walls, and then if it's a single story, they'll start setting their trusses. If you're using trusses, that was way back, but now it's the rafters. But basically that, making sure all the window openings with wood are right, all your door openings are right. And I don't know, some of you might not understand the terms I'm saying, so feel free to ask down the road what I'm saying. Some of your bottom plates you're all bolted down correctly. I mean, there's a lot of that goes into the process of framing. It's not just throwing some wood together and putting it up. There's metal, there's strapping. By code, you have to have all this metal in, and a lot of that's not on the actual plan. So they need to know what your codes are for your state.
Yeah, and listen, and he said something that's very important, folks. For those of you who are building, but those of you who want to build or going to build, please spend as much time with the GC in the houses as possible. Mm-hmm. That's how I learned. You learn by, and believe it or not, and I hate to say this, we learn by mistake. There are some mistakes made on, remember, this rafters is new for us, and there have been a couple of mistakes, but that's to be given. We've yelled loud and hard at our supplier for not, but it's new for them as well. So, but he said something also that's important. Make sure and you actually should talk to your contractors, your framers, make sure that the windows and the doors are framed according to plan. We have a house right now in Orlando that we're going through some issues because they did not frame it correctly. I thought they were like hobbits living in the house, and the windows or the doors were like,
Yeah, they're less than 24 inches.
less than
wide.
24 inches wide. Like it was like, it was crazy. So remember the process, be involved in the process.
Hey,
Talk about-
Al and Sergio, can you guys talk to on the windows, some of the tricks of the trade, like having windows built to spec according to like Lowe's and Home Depot?
You got it. That's an excellent question. Forget ordering windows, folks. Forget it. Just don't even think about windows and ordering windows. They're taking 3 to 5 months. So you know how we're getting our windows? And this has to be, and by the way, this has to be built into the plans. And it must be built in the plans before you start framing. Where you talk about
Right, to the process of that. Those windows need to be, when your architect, get with your draftsman, get with them on getting a list from Home Depot or Lowe's, their stock size windows that they do keep in stock, because it's a lot faster. I think their turnaround time, if they don't have them right in stock, I believe it's like 14 days or something like that. It's really quick. So a lot of people are moving to that. We're doing that too with a lot of stock windows, Home Depot, Lowe's stock. And as long as it's approved on your plan, you're golden.
And we learned that from an issue with a house we built not so long ago. We went back and redid the plans with the city. It only took days for them to allow. It was going to take 3 months, 4 months on one window. And we actually went to the Home Depot and picked them up the next day, right?
Yeah.
All of them.
Stock, right.
And time is money. So good question. Whoever asked that, very good question on the windows. Go stock. And make sure, though, you got to make sure, and don't do what some people do. Make sure that it's done the right way, because if you we're speaking about it now, if you get hit by a county or city inspector for not being the plan, they will make you tear it down and redo it, which,
Yes, they will.
and talk about, the inspection process. And, when you're dealing with an inspector for like here, when you're talking about the framing inspection, what are they going to look for?
Well, for now going through the inspection process, the inspections are typically like for our state, they're basically, you have to have all your electrical, your plumbing roughs done, all that stuff done before you can actually get your framing inspection. Framing inspection also includes all your metal, your strapping, your engineering for your trusses, or for your rafters, either or your engineering for that. They usually typically have an engineering packet that you usually keep on site, and you have to go through it with the inspector to make sure it's all correct. But, and as of inspectors, I mean, if anybody here has dealt with inspectors before, that some of them can be very unruly and not so nice. I always try to be cordial with them. If they give you a lot of attitude, I just kind of shy away, and not give them a real attitude back unless it's something that I know that's right. And then I'll fight.
Yeah, don't forget that if you're in the right, fight for it.
Yeah.
Don't be scared. Listen, they're a city. They work for us. You're in one of the most valuable trades, building houses, which produces taxes. It enhances ability for a city to bring in employers. So no, we've got leverage, but you got to use it. So many, particularly nonprofits, they act like nonprofits have to be weak and meek and do what they say, even build it like they say. No, anybody knows me, I won't take any crap from a city and an inspector. We beat up on a couple inspectors, and one recently where his bosses came, and they dealt with him accordingly. So, but you have no room to stand on if the house is not built to plan. All right. So how long should it take a typical, like a house? These houses are like, whatever, 1,900 square feet, each of them. So 20, so 3,600. How long would this framing job typically take?
Well, I tell you, the framers we have are good. And if they're good,
and by the way, I found them. I'll take credit for that.
Yeah, you can take credit for that one. But yeah, they had this, most of the walls, and they would have been done actually by this Friday if we didn't have the issue with the lumber issue not being here.
Yeah.
So they actually probably about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They would have it all done, framed.
You got it. That's pretty. So remember that For those who are getting, I've been to actually cities where they're taking, 4 or 5 weeks. That's ridiculous. So a job should not take more than 2 weeks. On our 1,800 square foot home, single family home, that doesn't, when we were using trusses, we got it all done in a week, right?
Yeah, with trusses is quick.
Yeah. Let me give you some photos. I'll show you some photos of some of the framing that was being done. This is early on. And remember, the rafters is the roof. That's the last piece. This is actually, these pictures were taken today, and I'm more than willing to, when we go into QA, if you want us to go around the house and show you, detail of the framing, we can do that too. Believe it or not, this is, let me go back. That's the carport. It's high, right? People are going, that's high. No, this thing will be graded. So those cars will go in there. And believe it or not, they do, in Tampa, because of floods, they require, what's the elevation now on standard? I think
Every city has their limit, but I believe here in the city of Tampa, it's 12 feet.
Yeah, no, and on the foundation, you see how once we get it, yeah. So it's, it's going to be high, but believe it, after the grading, you'll see at the end when we finish it up and show all of you, we come back, it'll be graded to where everything's level. And believe it, remember, this is 2 for 1. Each house, again, 2 for 1 each. And by the way, what's important when you do something like this is going to be our model. Just like our single family house model, this is all we're going to build. This is going to be our #1 build. We're going to go out and buy a bunch of houses to build these. The outside may look different, what we call the elevation. The outside may look different, but the inside will be the exact same, including finishes. And that's important because our framer, our electrician, our plumber, all our trades, when they get used to building the same house, less mistakes and quicker turnaround, right?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
And time is money. Now, as you're going to see, you can see Sky, because 84 lumber messed up on the delivery, the rafters have now been built, but they're going to come back and it'll take them about 3 days, 3 days to build out the rafters. Or i.e. the roof. And they also tarp that. Once, not only that, but the rafter, but they'll put the subroof on.
They'll put
the
the plywood
sheathing,
on,
and the sheathing.
sheathing, and then I got the roofer out here. Yeah.
And explain to them what's that. That's part of.
So that's an I-beam. For this particular model, they designed it that way with an I-beam. So for support and structure, because that's the second, or that's actually I think it's actually honestly a little overkill. But they designed it that way. I mean, you could put a truck on top of that, and it's not going to go nowhere.
It's for hurricanes. And actually, I went along with a little bit more expensive, but I'm going to be able to show these pictures to the insurance company, and we'll get a reduction in our insurance cost. You see the entrance, and both of them side. And by the way, it may look like they are one next to each other, but time we're done with the insulation and how we're going to put barriers in these walls, they won't be able to hear their neighbors doing whatever. You can see their big size, this is good size house on bottom and top. The carport. If you're going to see, if you notice, this is some of the materials outside. And by the way, I showed this picture. This is right across the street. This is what gave me the idea. This was a lot on a house, and they allowed the builder to build 3 homes. They're rentals and very tiny. Duplexes, but they're very tiny, like 2 bedroom, not even 3, 2 bedroom, 3 baths, crazy. And that was 3 years ago. And they were renting them. Think about it, 3 years ago, renting that's smaller than ours, and they were renting 3 years ago for $2,800 a month, and got it 3 years ago. And think about what they're probably rented today, and we're going to be renting them $1,800 to $2,000 to military families. That's the back. You can see we're going to, this is a little bit. None of them are what we call oversized large lots, but they're larger than typical, but they're not oversized. And this allows us, this right here, you can see in the back, that's going to be the backyard. We'll have a fence between both of them. So it'll be a nice little yard for them. And that's that. What can we learn from the delay in framing at Woodlawn? Time is money. Anything we learned from, this little fiasco that cost us about a month in construction?
Yeah, you have to beat up on them and really let them have it when they do something like that. That's for sure, because we lost, the framers we have are coming from Orlando, so we lost time with that too.
Yeah, and they lose money. And so,
Yeah.
I'm actually going to give them a little bonus because, they lost money on time, and, and I respect, anybody's time, including yours, and thank you for attending. But remember that I guess the bottom line is, and Sergio's learned that a lot from me. You got to be tough. You got to beat up, don't, when they're wrong, they're wrong. And if they make a mistake, okay. But if they make the same, Lumber 84 has made a couple, 2, 3 mistakes, and we've let them have it in no certain terms.
And I actually haven't, in the years past, before I was working with Al, I haven't really argued with like the building department too much, because it was always you have to be on your toes and you got to walk on eggshells and
Yeah.
be careful. But I've been now learning that model a little bit, where we're going to argue and we're going to push back, and it actually works. So I'm here to tell you it works.
Remember, don't be weak. If you're going to be weak, your business is done. Business is a contact sport, especially in construction. If you're going to build houses, you're one of the most important you're the most important business sector in the entire country. And I think we all learned that from the housing crash, remember? That showed how important housing is. You are important. You're critically important. So don't be scared, fight back, and whether it's a city, a supplier, whether it's somebody, even in your own company, be proud of what you are and, fight back. Okay, we're going to go to Q&A. Let me get us out of this. All right, you could take the questions,
Sure.
Robin.
Yeah, so we had a few. First, we have some new people that have joined. And one of the questions was, could you briefly go over what is the profit market-based affordable housing model versus the Robin Hood model?
First off, the Robin Hood model really falls under the profit market-based model. The profit market-based model, let me kind of give you the difference. A typical nonprofit, well, like for instance, City of St. Pete right now, they're, or any city, they'll give you lots, they'll put requirements on, and a nonprofit will be all happy because they got lots, and and basically they're being driven by the city. Somebody who's never built a house, somebody who's never been responsible for a house, and yet they're telling the builders how to build a house. That's not market-based. Basically, that's almost like you're their employee. And what happens is, in that same tone, you're not then focusing on actually what is your bottom line. And remember, a lot of folks don't lose money because they're getting subsidies from the city or for this county or from the state or for the federal government. But those subsidies are far and few between. And what ends up happening, you accept it, you build 10 houses, and they gave you extra money for what they call the gap. But what happens is, after that's done, there's very little of that money, but you've built out infrastructure, both internally and externally, to build out those 10 houses. A market-based model is the exact opposite. I flip it, and I make sure that I have enough business going on and profit, where that allows me to look at more unprofitable ventures, and at the same time, those unprofitable ventures aren't going the housing that we're going to build. It's not chewing up and killing all my construction infrastructure. And the construction infrastructure is really your subs, your whole process. And remember, you got to build out a process. So a market-based model, you've got to focus on profit and also an equity on your balance sheet and profit on your P&L. You let that drive your business, that before you even start to look at, doing, unprofitable business. And the Robin Hood is really the same, but it takes it to the next level. The Robin Hood is all you care about is finding housing opportunities where you're going to maximize. I'll sell it to I'll sell it to Bill Gates' brother. I don't care. You know, we're building, we got 3 houses that are Robin Hoods right now. We have one that that's going to sell for 1.2 million, probably. One that'll sell for about 750, and one that'll sell about 8 to 850. We're going to make probably in total anywhere from $500,000 to $600,000 net profit. I'm going to try. Right now, we're actually redesigning the house, like pavers. We're doing things to actually increase the profit. Remember, we don't care. We're taking that money from the rich, and they're going to bring it back to our poor neighborhoods or our poor nonprofits. So that's the difference between the two. They're really the same, but the Robin Hood is 100% focused on selling high-end product. Don't be scared to sell high-end product. That's another thing. The city or the people or even the bankers. I saw my bankers weren't happy about it, but I don't give a damn. They don't run it. You know, that ain't free money I'm getting. They get paid back. I control my business. And once they saw that it works, they went, yeah, this really does work. Do more high end, because in the end, what comes out of the spigot is us helping low moderate income families. And that's what we're able to do even more so with Robinhood.
Thank you for that, Al. And that might be something we'll put on the website so that people can understand the difference. Joe asked, what is the cost comparison of rafters versus trusses?
Very good question. And go ahead. What's the difference in pricing between rafters and trusses?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah. Trusses are astronomical right now. They're very astronomical. And the actual rafters are going to be cheaper, but actually it's more labor to put them together. So, but it's still you're gonna still end up actually a little less than actual trusses.
You got it. They're gonna be, the rafters will actually in the end, from a dollar standpoint, is actually cheaper. But that's not the only variable to look at. To me, the most important variable, even if it was a little bit more expensive, I can get the rafters done. You know, it takes me a week to get the framing kit, 2 weeks to get the framing kit, and I'm in business. Versus 4 months to 5 months for trusses, that's money. And folks, if you learn, that's the Truist and Regents sign. By the way, I promote Truist and Regents because they provide us most of the capital and very flexible capital to do all our housing. But time is money. You know how many, for 4 months, we can build 3-4 houses in 3-4 months. So that's the most important cost. And that actually, if I actually can put numbers to that, you know, not now, right now during our session, but I can actually show you, I think we'll do that at the summit, show how time is money and break it down by, you know, dollars and cents. So that's the difference. But you have no choice to go with rafters. Find your, you know, that's the way to go. Trust me on this.
Mm-hmm. Specifically on the house that you're working on right now, what's the square footage for each unit?
Yeah, it's about 19 without the garage. It's about, the living space is a little under 1,900 square feet for each one. So we have 1919. So you have what, 3,800 square feet, but each house is about 1,900 square living space, 1,100 square feet. And by the way, it's not only the square feet, it's location, right? Location. So we just bought a house down the street at International Mall at, you know, it was on market. We bought it through the market, and we're still going to be able to make profit and provide a Black or Latino home buyer with a house near International Mall, prestigious International Mall, for under $350.
All right. Also in this house, how many bedrooms and baths can you just confirm for a few people?
The three bedroom, 2 bath.
Okay. And then Sandra had the question, can you buy the land on that particular property?
What do you mean, can I buy the land?
I'm not sure. Sandra, do you want to unmute to explain what you mean by that?
Do we have to
Hi.
unmute him?
Oh, she should be able to unmute. Are you there, Sandra?
Yes, I'm here.
There you go.
Hello.
Hello.
So I know we're, building on building, obviously, the house. Can we actually purchase the land, like buy the land? Is the
Are you
land
talking
for
about,
sale?
are you talking about doing like a land trust?
No, just like, okay, so out in my area, we have a lot of rural property.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Without a house, just plain lot?
Yes, buy the
Oh,
lot
yeah.
and then build the property
Oh,
on the
absolutely.
lot.
Listen, oh, I prefer that. Oh, I'll take a lot before a demolition any day, any day. Now, remember this though, when you're doing a lot, the only downside on cost is if there was a house before, they're not going to charge you or very little. They used to not charge. Now cities want taxes. You're going to have marginal, what we call minimum impact fees. Impact fees are for like water, sewer, and so forth.
Mm.
But if there was no house there before, remember, they're going to have to put in new connections for water and sewer. So you're going to have, and right now, like in Tampa, that can run $20,000.
Yeah.
We got a new,
Least.
remember what it cost us for Rome? We got the new water line, the new meter, just a meter.
Just the meter was $4,000.
Yeah, just a meter was just the meter. It was
Yeah.
4,000.
Wow.
So that's the only thing. If there was a house there already, there'd be a meter. Now, so, and by the way, speaking of the lot, if there's a house, the one thing we do here is that we replace the plumbing underneath the ground as well to the street. Remember, and we take remember with the rule, take pictures of it for the appraisal, even for new construction.
Mhm. Okay, that's really, really good to know, because there's a lot of empty lots around here that do not have properties on them. And is, but they're on main streets where there's properties, so many feet away.
What city
And-
is that? What city is that, Sandra?
I'm in Brownstown,
Wh-
Michigan.
where- Or Michigan? Yeah, you know
So-
what? Yeah,
Mhm.
I
I'm
think-
closer.
go ahead.
I'm south, I'm down past, downriver near Waterford and Flat Rock, past Gibraltar Trade Center. So it's a lot of rural property primarily, and lots are up for sale everywhere.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But
something like this may work in that, because sometimes it's hard what we call comp values. What is a house for 1,800? What's the value of a house for 2,000 square foot? What's the selling price per square foot? Remember, you can only, and why
a
that's
lot.
important, you can only get a loan, or the buyer can only get a loan based on the value, the comp value of the house. The market value, when that involves appraisal. And something
Mhm.
like this will work perfect in that situation where the square footage actually is going to allow it to appraise easier for that loan.
Yeah, the housing value down here has gone up so much. It's probably not worth it for me to do what I'm trying to do for affordable housing. I don't think it's gonna be affordable housing. But I have been
But
looking at
remember,
other lots.
you could build expensive homes and take that profit to build and to give you gap money to build in houses, to build in areas and build houses that, will lose a little bit of money. So don't forget, don't be scared of building an expensive house. But remember, like I told the banks and even people at Fannie Mae and FHFA, would they rather as an investor build an expensive house and go buy a new condo in Vail? Or would they rather us buy it as a nonprofit and take it back to the community?
Yes.
Al,
Okay.
but one other thing though, Al, if you could just talk to is, you don't want to just go out there and just buy lots. There's some research at the beginning you have to do to make sure it's buildable. Make sure
Yeah.
that the setbacks are there. There's some other work than it just.
No, that's a whole, listen, we don't want to get into that, but that's how to take a lot. Maybe we'll do a class on that, how to take a lot and then do the analysis, on what you can build out and what's feasible to build out. So, but yeah, there's a lot of work, a lot of analysis, and you should be doing this on every house though. Every house, you've got to look at your anticipated construction costs. And even if there's acquisition, which includes acquisition costs, what you're going to sell it for and what's left over. All right.
Definitely.
So
I have one more question too.
Go ahead.
If
Sandra, I
it's
was just
okay.
about to go over it.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to get ahead of you. But since I was here, Thank you. So with the strategic planning or strategic opportunity that we have that we're, building under our nonprofit organizations, do we qualify for zoning credits? If those zoning credits are available in the city?
Yeah, if you're a startup, you got to look at, I highly suggest stay away. You're talking about getting into city affordable housing where you got a lot of restrictions and even the zoning, they're providing you some zoning variations, but based on, who you're going to sell it to, how you're going to build it out. If you're a startup, I wouldn't get engaged in that. You're going to lose money.
Such as empowerment zones. If I build an empowerment zone area, which is primarily exclusive for.
Yeah. I see what you look at. That's a good opportunity. This house where we're at now, let me give you a little bit of numbers. This house that we're in today, these two houses, two townhomes, it's an opportunity zone. I will build I'll look for an empowerment zone or opportunity zone, because when there's commercial being built out, let me assure you folks, 100% of the time, not 90, not 50, not 10, 100% of the time, when I focus and have acquired properties in an opportunity zone or empowerment zone, I have been able to make it profitable easy. Because remember, they're building out commercial. Once commercial starts building out, it's going to automatically increase the value of all properties, including residential. So yeah, so I would definitely look at empowerment zones when you can, and opportunity zones, or whatever the new administration, they're going to come out with their little, new markets tax credit, whatever, definitely follow. And I like to do that also because the builders are focusing on commercial. They don't care about housing. So I go around and I look for, even if it's on the outskirts, I've built where it's almost next to the empowerment zone and still was able to get the appraisal, because that once empowerment zone, there was some building out, that increase in valuations on land, it flushed over to the lower, where I was building what we call mostly moderate income areas.
Okay, I'm taking notes. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sandra.
You're welcome.
We just had one other question about the framing company. Can you share the framing company that you're using in Orlando for Florida people out there?
Hey, I know where you're going with that. But they're good. Remember, to that point, folks, there's nothing that pisses me freaking off more than anything. Those of you know me. Share what you've got. Share your secret sauce. Pisses me off, like Habitat for Humanity. They don't give a damn. They build our communities, but they don't share their intellectual bandwidth. That's bullshit. Excuse my language. That's bullshit. We run public companies. Share everything. If you want my contracts, you want copies of contracts, you want copies of the plans, we all share, including our suppliers. Don't be one of these knuckleheads who think they're running their own little Microsoft. No. And by the way, as we share, we can also share in leveraging capital and coming together, working to leverage how much capital we get, and even our suppliers. All right. So what's the name of Esteban? What's the name of the company?
Yeah, actually, it's Esteban Framing.
If you want, does somebody want their contact information? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, I think so. Maybe we could do that offline.
Well, I can tell you, only reason that they actually took us on is because he knows Al very well.
He's done a lot of
He
business.
told me if it was me, he wouldn't, because he doesn't know me, and he's so busy over there that well, I'll give you his information.
Do we have
No
an
problem.
email for him?
Yeah.
Give
I'll
him
get
the email.
I'll get the email. I'll get it and I'll put
Yeah.
it on the site. post on it.
We'll put, Robin, how can we put that? Can we put it on Can we put that on Housing Pros?
Yeah, we can put it on Housing Pros when I put up the house, and we can show the contractors.
Or better yet, email Robin, and then for those of you who want it, and then we'll directly email you his contact information.
Okay.
All right.
Let's
He's
do that.
good.
Yeah.
He's good. He's very, very, he did all my houses for like 3 years when I first started out in Tampa. And he's good. And I hate to say this, and he's the least expensive. So I'm really getting a double bang. That's why I've got to do the right thing. And once he's done with his job, I'm going to give him a bonus first. I'm going to give him some extra money for the lost time. It's the only right thing to do. He's a good person, a great business person, but they do kick butt work. And by the way, anybody, we share everything. If you want some of our subs, and we're going to start to build in other cities, we'll give you everything we have, but you better do the same. And because if you don't, I'll come looking for you.
Yep. So if you have, that's all the questions that we have. But if you have anything, any side questions or specific questions about your nonprofit, send an email to housingpros.fmcrc@gmail.com. I dropped it in the chat. Al, do you have anything else?
And remember the summit, folks, take this down. This has never been done before, ever. The banks are spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to fly you in, and for us and others around the country to share the intellectual bandwidth, access to actual bankers who are going to get you connected to your city. They're going to create like national points of contact that then will work with you in your individual cities to make sure you get capital. The banks, just like us, are focusing on affordable housing. They realize it's crucial. We've got to address this racial wealth gap. Remember, racial wealth gap is not driven by home ownership. It's driven by home equity. All right. Home equity is what is the name of the game. So jot this down. In about 2 weeks, we'll be probably in around 2 weeks, we'll be going live on registration. And for those of you on this call, make sure you get a free scholarship. So we fly you in. We pay for airfare and hotel. It's a good time. It's on a beautiful beach. So, and more importantly, you're going to get to meet your brothers and sisters from across the country. It's a great networking. I used to do this years ago, and everyone loved it because they get to meet people they never met before, and they forge lifelong friendships and even business alliances. So don't forget, okay?
I have a question, Alan, in regards to the bankers that are going to be attending the summit. In order for you to start a relationship with them, do you have to have excellent credit for them to release funds to you?
No, the way we're going to explain that at the summit, at the nonprofit, remember, this is really focused predominantly on nonprofits. But they are open to looking at, to lend, and to provide capital for-profit Black and Latino developers. To give you an idea, when we first started, we didn't have any credit. We only had like $25,000 of equity, about 7 years ago. We now have over 13 million in equity.
Right.
And they gave us unsecured, just like Dina over in Detroit. They're going to look for a way, right? You don't have to have great financials for them to provide you enough capital to build one house and to show yourself, to show you can do it.
But it'll be best for you to be established as a nonprofit. Would that help you?
Yeah, that'll absolutely help secure funding, because I can guarantee you the bankers are coming very, very sincerely and excited to meet people around the country and figure out, because that's one thing I've learned, that the bankers that they have on the ground, they don't know crap. The people in Florida, all the bankers, they're not even, by the way, they're not even allowed to call me. The bankers in Florida, the community bankers, aren't allowed to talk to me. Why? None of them know how to build a house. So I don't, I respect them, and they're good people, but they don't know anything about a transaction. And now, except for, my bankers that I work with, they're actually not even in Tampa. One of them is actually even in Baltimore, that comes over to Tampa to meet me and to help me with transactions. So the point being is that the bankers understand this, that they've got to start bringing in people who understand transactions. So at the summit, you're going to meet a contact nationally that will help each of you make a connection in your local market to start the process of getting capital. And even if you're not immediately ready, show you how to get ready and what you need to do to get that capital, to build that first house. And for those of you are building and have built houses but don't have enough capital, I'll go out on the line here. Let me assure you, I will help you. You will get capital. If you've built houses before, I will make sure in no uncertain terms that there's a bank or two that provides capital.
Okay, Sonia Flores?
Yes, my question is this. I have a construction company. We just finished building two 1,200, we call them skinny homes here because
Yeah.
they're long. And
Yeah.
we did rafters because the other frame, what are they called?
Trusses.
The trusses, it wasn't as much the cost, but it was the time here. It's
Exactly.
ridiculous. So we ended up how do I go from a profit to a nonprofit? Is that something you can help with? We built one and it's going off the market for like 700. The other home, we sold it for 475 for first time affordable home for a first time buyer. And we want to build more of those. So, and in California, I mean, I'm in San Diego, California, that's unheard of, even for a condo right now, unfortunately. But we were able to do it. And that's our desire, is to build more of that. But if being nonprofit makes it easier,
Yeah.
To work with banks, that's just the route that I would love to take.
You can actually do both. I would actually do both, because the experience you have from housing is coming from your for-profit. And remember this, folks, they're not, whether it's it does the corporate mechanism doesn't matter. It's the people in it. Have you got proven experience? Or like, I never built a house in Florida, but they knew that I knew business. And you remember, they invest in people. But having a nonprofit allows you to do some other things like, no, I don't pay sales taxes on materials. And in Florida, that's 7%. In California, that's an awful lot, that you save right there. I don't pay for rentals. I don't pay property taxes. So, there's a lot for the suppliers. They give me some of the suppliers give us a nonprofit pricing. So there's a lot of financial benefit that, but also the banks get more credit, with CRA credit. So I would actually do both. There's a way to do both.
Okay.
And Sonia, you're going to be, again, definitely, we've spoken, you were involved with Alliance, stuff that we did with US Bank, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure you speak, make sure you come to the summit. So,
Oh, yes.
we'll make sure to teach you, like Vanessa. Vanessa, are you on the line?
Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry, I was having trouble
You
unmuting.
just started a nonprofit doing the quick one. So explain to them
Yes.
how quick it happened. And
Oh my goodness, that is so quick. I filled out my paperwork in February, and by middle of February, by March 17th, I had my 501c3.
Wow.
Yeah.
how did you do that?
So, well, Al helped me. So I put together my bylaws, I incorporated. In Florida, you can send in your incorporation, you get it back in like 5 days, probably even less than that. Then once you have your incorporation, you fill out the IRS, and I forget the number of the form, but there's a form for nonprofits, and you want to do the short one.
You got it.
There's a long one and there's a short one, and don't put on there that you're building housing, and put that your income is going to be less than 50,000. If it's more than 50,000, they'll make you do the long form. And once you get your 501c3, anything can change. So you just want to go the route that gets you your number as quick as possible.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then, so look for the short version, and it's really, it literally is only a couple pages, so, and Sandra.
Did you hire somebody to do that, or you did it yourself?
No, you can do it yourself.
Oh, wow.
Or I'm going to put my email in the chat. I mean, I have a consulting company, but I'll help you to do that. I'll share. I believe that, just like Al is sharing with me, I'm sharing what he's.
And Vanessa, send her a copy, or anyone else a copy of the bylaws, that you sent in, the articles, so they can actually replicate, use the same bylaws, just change the names. And by the way, you're putting together a board, folks. Let me tell you something. My mentor, I talked to him 2 months ago and told him what we're doing, asking for some advice. My mentor put together, and his son took over, the largest CDC in the history of the United States of America, a nonprofit that has over 800 million in assets, produces about 130 million a year in revenue, and it's only 1% grant. And he told me to tell all of you, when you're putting together your nonprofits, or even the ones who have nonprofits, quit with putting corporate people and bank boards. You're actually doing yourself a disservice. Make the board small and people that are part of the community, even family member, but community people, not bankers, not corporate people, not a fundraising board, because you're basically minimizing, you're politicizing your corporation. And that's the number one mistake everybody does.
So, and I just want to echo and support what Al is saying, because as a consultant, I work with several nonprofits, and one of the nonprofits that I'm working with, after Al told me that and I started really watching the board meetings, it was the bankers who were saying, hey, you don't want to do that, and we don't want to be the first. And they were really, I wondered why this organization that's been around for 30 years isn't bigger. And I now realize it's the folks that are on the board, because they really don't understand construction, and they actually don't even understand the community and what
they
the
don't even live
needs
in the
are.
damn community. They live in golf courses and live in $1 million home or upper, it pisses me off. Come on, folks, quit politicizing your nonprofits. You're really doing your business wise. You can actually get more money by not having more capital, more grants by not having them on your board. All right, I could talk about that for about 2 days, so we'll get off of it. But Sonia, get with Vanessa, and she'll give you some help on that. Okay.
Veronica had a question. Do you want to unmute yourself, Veronica, and go into that a little bit?
Oh, thank you. Good afternoon. Yes, we have, there's a motel that we know of, and they're trying to see if they can do some affordable housing to single rental occupancy for seniors. Would that work under your program?
Yeah, you're talking about it's a hotel?
A motel, taking a small,
yeah. You know what?
Motel.
I'm actually looking this year to purchase a that's considered kind of multifamily.
Yeah.
And because housing prices have increased so much, it's almost, remember back in the housing, before the housing crash, they were called condo conversions.
Yeah.
Where you basically turn, small 1-2 bedroom, 3-bedroom condos, and you convert it to where you can sell them as housing units. Yeah. Most of the time those can financially work. Yes. That's the same. Absolutely. I think those are very, very viable options for home ownership.
Because we're not a nonprofit yet, but we're looking at doing something like that.
Yeah, I don't care if you're nonprofit or for profit. Look at if the numbers work. And that's, what city you located in?
West Palm Beach.
Oh, West Palm Beach.
I talked to the county. Well, I've talked to the gentleman at the county. They are trying to do things to home a lot of the seniors. And so they're looking to do projects. And I talked to them about that one, but they do want you to be a nonprofit.
I would tell you the only help you want from the city for something like that or any of this is to tell them to expedite your zoning variance, because you're going to need a zoning variance. And that's, when they can help you with zoning variances, increase your permitting time, decrease your permitting time for approval, decreased amount of time for your inspections. All that stuff is time, which leads to money, right?
Yes.
The profit. It really does impact the P&L for that project.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And we'll see you at the summit. You're one that will definitely benefit from the summit.
Yeah, I definitely want to go. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
That's it. That was good.
All right, we're ready to, we'll call it a day, folks. Thank you very much. We'll have another one in a couple, 2-3 weeks. And by the way, send Robin, you got her email, send her any suggestions for courses. If you got a certain area that you want to focus on, within affordable housing development, let us know. We'll put together a class. just for
Yeah,
that.
so yeah, any questions regarding the summit? Like Al said, it'll be available on blackandlatino.org within the next few weeks. Registration opportunities, scholarships, all those details. But if you have any questions in the meantime, email summit@blackandlatino.org. I put it in the chat. I'll put it in there one more time. And then any questions regarding housing pros, upcoming sessions, those sort of details, you want to email housingpros.fmcrc@gmail.com. All righty. I'm
All right,
typing
folks.
and talking at the same time, but that's all I got.
We'll see you. Everyone have a good day and a blessed week, and stay safe and healthy.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.